here's some tips. So if I'm going to start on a trivet, here's what I do. I come in, turn the light on, sit down in my chair, pet the dog, get me a drink of water, and every person has to have a little bowl with some snackies in it so you can have some chocolate. Okay.
Keep your fingers clean.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yearbooks that I've saved for umpteen years.
What year?
What year are they? They 52. Oh, geez. Don't make me do that. Makes me feel really old. So you want a nice platform that's so when you've got a big trivet, it doesn't flop down when you get to the end. You keep it all at the same level, and that thinks what a lot of you are having trouble with is that you're letting the trivet bend instead of keeping it flat around you. So if you got to pile up some 2x4s or what have you, this is some box of buttons, and it just happened to be just the right height. So I pile these old yearbooks here. That way it gives me a nice flat table to do. Hayden's going to give me some trivet. This one I don't use too far. The bigger one, yeah. If I'm sewing on those, that way when I'm sewing on them, and I keep pressing them down, they go out, spin around, they're still on that. When I come back to this side, I keep my machine close to me, so I have to hold under the trivet and hold it as I'm sewing. And it's just one small side that you do that. And it flattens right back out, but that makes you a good base to sew.
And why do you need to keep it like that?
Well, they'll buckle. If you're sewing and it's not flat, you're pulling or pushing that rope cord on the outside that you're stitching to it. You're either pulling it, and you can see if it was like this way, you're going to pull it differently or stretch it either way, and your trivets won't lay flat. Okay, I'm back. We're ready to make the loop that goes on them, and used to be I just fold them out straight, and then from somebody else's video I learned to make this loop, and I think it's wonderful. If I'm I'll put my scissors in my garbage pail. The rope, after you end it, pinches down in between there, and you sew it to both of them. So I take that rope and I'll cut it at an angle. It doesn't really matter what kind of an angle you cut, because it's going to be smashed in between the other rows. And I'll and you always have a piece of cardboard handy that's what you glue on when you're gluing, so you're not gluing on other stuff, but you put some glue on the end. And you always, when you're in something and you or get up to go to the bathroom or something, put a quick clip on the end of your as far as you've wrapped, so you don't lose the tightness of the wrap on the cord. So then I'll glue this strip, probably pretty heavy on this, and then clip the end really heavy, because I'll show you so you don't have to worry about covering the end of that cord. Cover the glue so it doesn't dry out. Okay, I'll start wrapping this from where I left off, and I'll keep wrapping it really tight, and you keep going clear past the end of the rope to where you can see the end of the rope, and then I'll wrap back around it so you've got double fabric right over there, and I'll keep clipping it and holding it, and I'll hold it back and maybe cut the fabric off about like that, but I'll hold the clip so that it holds that edge, and then I'll kind of twist this, but I'll go down to the end of it I couldn't live without these clips. I go down to the end of it where it's kind of twirled, and I feel, okay, the rope ends, well, dropped it. The rope ends right there, so I'll put this clip right on the end of that so it holds together so it'll glue good. And usually at that point, I sew around the outside edges of all my trivets. If you'll look at them closely, there's a line of stitching clear around the outside of each trivet. It holds it in, it keeps the threads in. I just think it looks finished, so that's what I do for that. So at this point, I would do that. I'm not going to do that now, but I would sew clear around the outside of that, and I cut my width down to 4.5 and still keep it at the 4 stitch length. So you'll go all the way around and come back out, and then I usually run some stitching on the little handle. Is that what you call it? It's a handle? A loop. So that when I get ready to do this, it will look finished is all that does. So I'll twist that around and I'll cut that off so it's not quite so much fabric. But make sure you don't cut into the cord. And you'll stick that down in the crease right here. Stick it down in there and push this back tight against it. And sometimes I'll take a pin and pin back in this so I know where I want to go, how far I want to go in my stitching. It's not going to pin in there easy this time. There it is. And you start then, I'll start stitching out to here. I'll keep my stitch length. I'll do a zigzag stitch. I'll keep my stitch length back out to 4, but I won't go to 6. When I'm normally doing this, I do a 6, but I cut it back to about 4.5. I cut it to 5 when I'm doing this, and I'll cut this back to as a 0.8, because that's like a buttonhole stitch, and that's what we're going to do on here is like a buttonhole. Start back a ways. Yeah, it's not clipped in there tight. Still not snapped there. See, I couldn't do without this light. I'll start back a little ways, and I'll hand start. That way we're going to go, I got something to point with. There's 2 lines here that we're going to stitch over, and this is where the bottom of that loop is. One of them's against the trivet, and the other's against the other rope on the outside. So we're going to go down that first side. I'll go clear down where the pin is. And something about your zigzag, if you're going to stop, I just do a reverse. It just back stitches right back in the same deal. Like if you're out in the trivet and you got to stop because you run out of bobbin, you just back stitch and it stays right in the same stitch and you can't tell where you've left off at. So now I'll raise my presser foot. Take this out from under. You can see what the stitching did right there now. My little scissors, here they are. I'll cut off my threads so otherwise you tend to get them in under the sewing. And I'll go back on this to where we started before and come back on this upper side of the, oh, shoot that. If I move my machine at all, it, and then you have to put the pressure foot down or it doesn't work. I'll come back over that stitching, but staying close to this, and I push with my chopstick on these to make sure this is tight. And I'll bring that back up to where the other stitching was. And I'll do a reverse on that. But besides locking it, it just finishes it just a little better. Okay, that's all done. See how easy that was? And that's so fast and so simple. Yeah, here's what that one looks like. And they're all reversible. Looks the same. I haven't cut threads off back here, but they look the same on the back side as they do the front side. I tell people, don't worry about them getting dirty. Just wash mine until they get dirty on both sides. Okay, this is a coil start. You really almost have to have that if you're going to do small coasters, like 4 or 5 inch coasters. You have to do that. I use needle nose pliers. Needle nose pliers to grip it. You twist and keep pulling till you've got a circle like that. Then I put pins in 4 different ways to hold it while you do a zigzag, a straight stitch across here and across here till you get it anchored good. And then I'll go back in and do my zigzag, check on that, do my zigzag around till I get back out to where I'm adding cord. Be sure and remember, cord always is added to something on the right hand side so that as they get bigger, it goes out to the left hand side. I don't care for these, but if I make coasters, small coasters, I would do this one. But otherwise, I like the strip. And that's what we're going to do right here. When I'm doing the strip. And the formula for this is the length of what you want your product to be minus the width you want your product to be. That will give you, like if it's 20 inches and long and 12 inches wide, you'll do 9, 8.
Hold
Okay,
up fingers.
so if I do a 20-inch trivet and I get it 10 inches wide, so 20 minus 10 would be a 10-inch strip that I would start down the middle of the trivet. That's how I decide what this middle start strip would be. Like if I'm doing 10-inch trivet and it's 8 inches wide, I'll start with a 2-inch strip here. And as you keep going around, then that's what it comes out. So it's length minus the width equals the size of the strip. And we'll write that some more in case you forget it. What I do when I start a strip, instead of trying to bind it off and whatnot, I'll cut it straight off. And then I trim it just a little on the rope so it's not quite as thick. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Trim it just a little so it's not quite so thick. That way when I go to... I'm kind of a messy sewer too, if you haven't noticed that. I glue my strip well. Gluing the strip well with my Elmer's glue. And a long time ago, I used to try and fold a strip over and then wrap around it. It got too big and bulky. Now I've learned that if you start your strip up above the end of the cord just a little bit, above the end of the cord, and then start wrapping around, keeping it really tight up here. When you're, I know my fingers are probably in the way, but you keep it just as tight as you can get it there. And keep wrapping this around and keep that tight. My fingers get sticky and then they stick to everything. And even without putting the pressure on it, you can get a lot of tightness on your wrap if you pull it really hard. I'm just going to put a clip on the end of this time so we'll know where we're at. Okay, so now we've got this long piece again, like we had on the doing the loop on the strip. Only this time we're going to do it and it'll be flat around it. So I'll feel the end of the rope, cut a little past it. See, no rope showing now, just fabric. And if I'm going to make an 8-inch trivet, I would do a 2-inch strip. So I would do 2 inches from that open end, 2 inches, bend it, come this way, and then I try to remember which way I'm going to be sewing from next time. I'll start down at this end, and my zigzag is on 4. My length is 4. That's as I remember when sewing machines used to have a 6 for a basting thread, but these only go to 4 anymore. And a 6 in the width of the zigzag. This is the length of the stitch. This is the width of the zigzag. That's what I use on this machine. It's an SQ900 Brother. No major. I use a size 12 Schmetz needle. I don't use a special needle. I don't use upholstery. I don't use leather. You do whatever you need to do, but this is what I do. So I'll start down at the end of this. I'll leave about a 1/2 inch. That's all right. Leave about a 1/2 inch up from there so that I've got something to work on when I go. Press your foot down. Once again, you can use your chopsticks to hold this together. And we're going to start stitching. And I'll do 1 stitch, and then I'll reverse and do back again. And then I'll hold this. Keep pushing it together with the chopstick. Sometimes I weave a little bit. And keep coming clear on out to the end. That way you're not going round and around. You're going clear out to the end of that. Okay, when I get to there, I'll do a reverse again. And then I'll lift it off. See how neat and tidy that is right there? Scissors. What do I do with the scissors? I got big scissors. Little ones, little scissors. I don't see. Oh, here. No, they're not there. There. That's where I usually keep them. Okay, I'll clip these. But see how neat and tidy that is to start? Then we'll go back down to here. And we'll finish this. And this is where this end was cut off and we glued. Gotta get the threads off, because they will bunch up under there if you don't get them sewn or cut off. Now we know we're going to have to turn the corner. We're out of fabric, but that's all right. You can still see what I'm doing. I'll twist that around. That's where that, right here is where that one we cut off. and just bunch the material up till it glued together, and then stick it down in there. As you turn the corner, it closes that off totally. And I hand wheel around that part so that I can see where my machine is stitching. I'll start up on here. Okay, we'll back stitch again. Okay, can you see where there's my little line. Right there is my line on my foot that usually is between both pieces of cord. And I'll hand stitch around that. I'll probably pivot right in that where we cut it. I'll lift this, pivot a little bit, do the next one. We're still on the cord. We'll pivot again. It'll be on the middle cord again, almost in the same spot. We'll lift it, pivot again so we get back out to the other cord. We're on the edge of that. We'll pivot again, and so it'll come back in that same spot. Back in the pivot. And then I'll pivot again by hand. You do this about 2 or 3 times as per the instructions, and then you're set to go. You can do it. I'll twist that again so that it comes back. And pinch your fingers. Now we're following the line down the cord. And the next one we'll do the same way. I'll just hold that cord there. Don't pull it or push it. Just let it flow in there. Well, when you get to here, for these first 2, I hand wheel around through that. It'll get in. Make sure you're getting some thread, some needle into both pieces of cording. You spin until you get back to your seam. Better cut these threads off before I get them all wound up there. And this one you'll just go around the same way, but just lay it there. Don't pull it, don't push it, just lay it. You can almost, see, you can turn as the needle is in up position, or in a down position in the fabric, you can turn it. By then, see, you can just turn it as you go. I thought, oh, the light can't come out of the ceiling. What is it? I'm running my pants. Go in the bathroom.
Slight mishap with the film crew. Hold on, we'll be right back after a short station break. I believe our seamstress is okay. She doesn't seem to be bleeding. Our film crew is related, so
She needs a Band-Aid.
we'll be right back after this short break. I don't know how to turn your phone off.
Oh, you gotta have some of that on there. That's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hit you in the
She jumped a mile.
She thought the light was falling.
Scared me to death.
Chicken
Yeah,
Little, the
whole
sky is
friggin'
falling.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
I'll finish this and we'll call it good for this. It might give somebody an idea of what to do. I don't know.
What not to do? Don't drop
What
the
not to do.
don't drop the camera
Don't
on
let
your
your
star's head.
Camera. Oh, there, take.
Cute, trivet.
Oh. We took a laugh break.
She has a headache.
Oh dear.
Was this piece?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Another little thing, I thought, well, I'll experiment a little and put some Elmer's glue. This is a join. Oh, it's strong, but if you feel it, it's hard. It's not good. So I started doing them and just taking a scrap little piece of fabric and really putting those ends together and laying them in that fabric and then pulling them tight around it so that you then take your, I'm going to leave that one like that. We'll look at this one. And then you just cut it off so it's even. So you can wrap right around that joint, the fabric or the rope joint. See, those are tough. I'm pulling on that. And you wrap around it. I dare you, anybody, to show me where I've joined rope, because it does not make it any thicker. The rope joint is all covered now. It's just easy to do. You have to take a little bit of time. You have to let it sit. I cut the end off really straight. I don't do any trimming. I cut the end off straight and butt them right together. Don't fluff them any, because you don't want to have any little strip of fabric. These two ends are right there. The strip of fabric is just glued enough to go around, heavy glue around the joint itself. And sometimes if I can get a little piece of glue right here on the end, I will just put a little on there. Lay it right there. I'll put a little glue on this one. I don't know that that helps, but it makes me feel better, I guess. And then you'll butt those two right up together. Hold them tight. Don't let them lap up over each other, just to each other. Pull this piece of fabric up over that one. Pull it up over this one. You've got a little sling for it now. And I just keep holding those tight as I can. Like that. And I'll probably leave, I don't do a rope deal and then just keep right on going. I'll put the clips on that and let it sit so that it gets good and dry. Because when it gets hard, then they've glued together. Like this one, strong. And that's what'll happen to this one from doing that. And you can wrap right over it. And it looks awesome. Works good. You cannot tell if that's been, the rope has been spliced in between that. If you want to see, I can open it and show you that there is a rope splice there, but it is, trust me. Okay, now we're gonna wrap some cord. So you see how I wrap cord. this off even. I'm going to trim it up a little so that when I do that first one, it's not going to be bulky. Just a little bit of trim of the cotton off of it. Okay. Then we're going to start our strip. I take my strip first, and I find the halfway mark. And I'll fold this up to here. Then I'll fold it again so it makes a pretty small little wad of stuff. And I put a clip on it. That way when you're wrapping and I have my rope out here under one foot. I have to sew on the foot bead with a bare foot. Don't ask me why, it's just something I've done for years. But that way when you drop this down, it's got some weight and it'll help you hold the wrap easier. Okay, we're starting a strip. I glue quite a little ways till you get it started. Not heavy, but quite a bit. I'll start it by going this way. I'll wrap. Can you see what I'm doing? Wrap around that tight. That's leaving about ½ inch of fabric past the end of the rope. And then I'll start pulling this strip down here. Okay, I've got this here. Rope under my foot, comes up over my knee, and I hold it tight. And I'm really tight when I start this especially. And I'll go down. And the less handling you do, I'm going to put a clip on the end of that so it'll glue tight, because that's the one we start the strip on. So I usually put a clip on that till I'm through so it'll hold it, so it'll glue good and tight. I'll hold this, I wrap this, I pull tightly here, I'll move my finger down here to hold it, I'll wrap this one tight down. See the angle I'm going down at? What kind of an angle would you call it? I'm not a mathematician, so I don't know what kind of an angle. And as I go one, I drop another one. And this cord's tight on my leg here. I'll keep going down here. I'll hold it. I hold them both sides, evidently. I hold this side with my fingers here till I get this finger down here. You can go pretty fast. If you get a buckle in this, as you're coming this way, you can just reach in there and wrap the next wrap right over that little buckle. This rope, some fabric wraps really easy. Really takes there. See right there? There's a little deal of fabric. So the next row will come right over the top of that little ripple. Some fabric wraps really easy and takes the curve, and others this little bitch.
But not worth cutting on the bias.
I don't prefer to cut on the bias because I don't get any more fray from this. I don't know. I just, when you get down to where that was, you move your leg up a little, pull a clip, and you got the rest of your fabric. And you hang it, pull it tight, strip it tight, keep your finger on it. And I've done this for 30 years now. So I'm slow. I'm not real fast, but I do know that is essential, is that tightness. And hold that as you wrap. We'll wrap to the end of this cord and start. I saw the other day where somebody had some excess strips, which I just threw away a whole bunch, 5 grocery sack full of them, and I gave a grocery sack over to my kids, where somebody was selling those bags of leftover scraps. I should have kept all those extra ones. I didn't like them. They'd frayed a lot, and it was fabric I'd used a lot, and So I was ready to get rid of them. Well, yes, I shouldn't. I could have made some money on them. Or I could have given them to somebody maybe. That would have been the best thing to do. Okay, we're at the end of the strip. I leave me about that much left to glue the next splice of fabric on. But I put a clip right there to hold that so all of this doesn't unwind. And if you let that go for a little bit, it'll unwind back up like that, this is solid. Whereas if the fabric starts looping, and this looks really frayed, but when it's sewed, it does not show. If it does, then cut it off. I mean, cut the strings off if they bother you. To me, that's part of the charm. See, you can cut those. I had to vacuum my floor because I dragged my cord across the floor here, and I was picking up strings from other jobs that I had cut off. And see, like this, you can cut them if you really feel you need to. I don't. That's the charm. And when they're sewn, you really don't know that they're there. Are you ready? Okay, we'll go with the cardboard again. Always keep that cardboard, otherwise you're going to have glue.
What are you doing?
I'm going to join fabric. One color fabric to another color. I always love when I get to do so many strips of one particular color and then you get to add a new color. That's exciting. So glue lightly, about a 1/2 inch. I always glue a little extra on this tip up here that's going to end up on the top of this bend. This one I put a little glue, a little bit on the right side, turn it wrong side, and I do about a 1/2 inch, and then I'll glue again here. But between this one and this one, see, it's about a 1/2 inch that I overlap them. And then I'll glue a little bit along, just a little bit, and then some down here, so that when I'm through with the splice, as I call it, I'll come back up here and grab this very carefully. Just keep really pushing that top strip there.
And you don't have to wait for the glue to dry, do you?
No, you
Just
don't wait.
Pull too.
Just don't pull. You're here, you're holding your finger on it. If you've got the same color fabric, I always put my thumb where that new color meets the old color, because that's where I told you the little point that you want to make sure you get a lot of glue on so that stays down. And then I'll wrap a couple wraps of the new fabric and put a clip on this so that it holds that new piece of fabric on the old till you get ready to and then keep wrapping. Something else I've learned through the years, that red thread, and I learned that at a serger class I took in Portland, Oregon, on red thread and red fabric are some of the hardest things to sew on. I don't know if it's the dye. They couldn't tell me either, whether it's the dye in the color or what it is. But if you're having trouble with an outfit or something you're doing and it's red thread or red fabric or mold, red is a harder color to work with. Some fabrics I've found on my trivets don't take the needle well. Some fabrics are harder. I don't know what it is, but certain fabrics. So don't give up. If one piece of fabric is not working, get another piece of fabric and try it on a scrap and see if that fabric doesn't work well. And it'll cause you to skip stitches. Always keep extra bobbins. When I'm starting one of the 12 by 20 inch trivets, I always have 3 bobbins because it'll take 2 3/4. Another thing is when you've got at least a 6-inch strip to 12-inch strips, and you want to sew them all together to make a 36 to a 40-inch long strip to wrap. That can be done because you just sew them. You either press them open. They're better if they're open than folded on one side because that makes more fabric and it makes the fold heavier. But don't ever buy fabric to do this sort of thing that has any stretch to it. You want cotton fabrics that don't have stretch. And if you're in doubt, don't just start out on a trivet. Cut off some spare rope and play with it. Cut a skirt up or something and make some strips and sew it. Okay, I'm going to try and talk through this one. The girls have handed me some previews of colors that we have curated kits, and these will be new kits that'll be coming up on the market real shortly. They just have to put all that. I have a good production crew in the shipping and I don't know, in the shipping and billing department and whatnot. I just sit here and sew. They do all this. The black and white I absolutely love, and the variety of colors and whatnot look really good. And here's a brown one that we've got. I'm not a proponent of brown, but these browns look really nice together. We have a trivet there of brown that we can show you that's made up from this. Here's a trivet that we made out of these browns. It made up nice. It's just, I'm not a brown person. Okay, Kaylin, you can take that one back. Did you get it? I want the camera here pretty soon, and I'm going to take a picture of my helpers. And here's the green kit that will be coming up. I love the bright splash of color in there. I like to throw in if I'm doing a black and white, sometimes I'll throw in a red or a pink or a yellow strip in somewhere in the trivet. Then there's the blue trivet. These ones with the 4 strips are the small trivets, the 8 by 10. The ones with the whole bunch of stuff are the 12 by 20 trivets. And you've got everything you need to make a total trivet out of these. I've got, well, I'm working on a new blue one for a customer right there, but I have the black and whites, and I'm anxious to start on those because I love put black and white together. And I might toss in a hot pink in there somewhere. We never know. I love doing that. Customers seem to like those things too. I keep safety pins. We buy them as we...
Clothespins. I think those are clothespins, but I'm not sure.
Cut that part out. I keep clothespins on because they hold the strips really nice, and we always buy things in the corporate pack. We don't just buy 2 or 3. We always buy the corporate pack, so we've always got some. Yeah, that's good. Oh, there's another little tidbit I just wanted to share with you. I have been sewing for 80 years. I started out on a treadle machine sewing a dish towel, or your tea towel, whatever you want to call it now. And when we decided to go on the road in our motorhome, I said there's only one criteria. I have to take both of my sewing machines. So I sewed for 18 years, turning the driver's seat around toward facing the inside of the coach, and sewed on a TV tray. And did lots of sewing for grandkids, and that was where I first started doing the bowls. Okay, guys, I need a break. I need some rum raisin ice cream. So grab your scissors next time, and we'll meet you here again.